America doesn't owe me anything. I am the son and grandsons of Navy admirals, and I was born into America's service. It wasn't until I was deprived of her company that I fell in love with America. And it has been my honor to serve her and her great cause, freedom. It is because I owe America more than she has ever owed me that I am a candidate for President of the United States.
In the run-up to the 2000 campaign, there were lots of candidates. And of course, the one person that sort of stood over top of that entire field, was George W. Bush.
We started out a decided underdog. We thought that the best way to campaign was to have total access to the media. That's what the Straight Talk Express was all about.
He wanted to do politics a different way. We had modeled the campaign on being completely transparent. And every day, 18 hours a day, John McCain would be surrounded by the press corps that was covering him in the back of that bus, holding forth on every issue that was on the table.
I'm against gun registration, and so...
Why?
Because I don't think it's necessary in America, but obviously, as I've said before, we would be glad to examine proposals, but...
So the bus was this freewheeling exercise in public discourse.
I was kind of the presumptive heir to the nomination. I never ran scared I was going to lose, but I knew John would be a tough competitor.
Nobody was supposed to beat George W. Bush. But if you could actually beat him in a primary, it could create enormous momentum. So the whole idea was just win in New Hampshire and start the campaign basically from there.
We had these town halls everywhere where he took any questions, and they let him go for as long as people wanted to ask him questions.
I will do as we have been doing all over the state of New Hampshire, and that is to respond to your questions, comments, and occasional insults that you might have.
New Hampshire's all about retail politics. They want to see you, not just once, but 2 or 3 times. They want to touch you. They want to ask you questions. And John's really good at that. And he likes it. He loves it.
The last event we did was in Bedford, New Hampshire, and I went upstairs to give him the exit polls. And he was in the bedroom rehearsing his speech. I said, we got the exit polls. And he said, what are they? And I said, you're going to win. He goes, yeah? How much? He goes, you're going to clobber him. Well, that has implications. I said, yeah, like you could be president. It has that implication.
My friends, in the weeks and months ahead, I may say things you want to hear, and I may say things you don't want to hear. But you will always hear the truth from me, no matter what.
Everybody knew in the Bush campaign and the McCain campaign that whoever came out of South Carolina was likely to be the nominee of the party.
I'm glad to be back down here. I want you to know loud and clear, we're going into battle.
New Hampshire's campaign was basically void of a lot of negative campaigning. By the time we got to South Carolina, it was bare-knuckle politics.
This is George Bush's ad promising America he'd run a positive campaign.
We were running negative ads against George Bush. George Bush was running negative ads against John McCain.
Governor Bush's tax plan isn't true, and McCain knows it.
It was the fight of the century.
The war of words between George W. Bush and John McCain is heating up even further. As they battle for votes in South Carolina, McCain is accusing the Bush campaign of making misleading phone calls to voters.
Governor George W. Bush still denies that anyone in his campaign is making negative phone calls. But McCain's supporters are now pointing to a conversation videotaped on Saturday between Governor Bush and a supporter in South Carolina. They claim it shows the governor promising more negative attacks on McCain.
Y'all haven't even hit his soft spot. I know. I'm going to. They need to be. Somebody's exposed.
The phone calls went out all over South Carolina. Do you know the McCains have a black baby?
John and Cindy had adopted from one of Mother Teresa's orphanages in Bangladesh a baby daughter. a person of color. And people were getting calls saying that she was his illegitimate daughter from a relationship with an African-American prostitute.
I just remember it getting really dark really fast. It's like the last time I was truly innocent in politics was before that happened.
In South Carolina, proof that negative campaigning works. McCain's supporters dropped 10 points in less than 2 weeks. At a McCain town hall meeting Thursday, Donna Duran described how her son idolized the former Navy pilot and POW until the 14-year-old Boy Scout answered a phone call, allegedly from a Bush pollster.
But he was so upset when he came upstairs and he said, "Mom, someone told me that Senator McCain is a cheat and a liar and a fraud." And he was almost in tears.
Are you saying that Governor Bush was responsible for that call?
I don't know who was responsible for it, but I know that the attacks go on.
He accused me of dirty campaigning, and I pulled out some flyer that said paid for by John McCain.
This is an attack piece. That is not by my campaign.
What says paid for by John McCain?
That is not by my campaign.
McCain 2000, John?
Not by my campaign.
When somebody's putting stuff out.
It was getting bad. And he says, look, I want to take off all the negative campaign ads. I want to go positive. I said, well, what do you mean? Take off negative campaign ads? We're in a slugfest of our lives. This is, you know, battle to the death. And he said, nope. He said, I want to run a campaign that my daughter will be proud of. I'd rather lose an honorable campaign than win a dishonorable one.